You find on the Canary Islands that you won't find a single canary. Really, not a single canary. The interesting thing is, the same holds true for the Virgin Islands. You won't find a single canary.
Got it.
Okay.
Got
Well,
you
good
right.
start.
Oh, yeah. Oh, y'all knew him.
Why do I throw with artificial? Okay. Originally, I'm from up north, born and raised in Chicago. Please don't hold that against me. It took me 50 years to figure out I needed to live down south. That's why I'm here. But there's a lot of, and I was in North Carolina and Northern Virginia for many years with the Marine Corps and the government. And in the late 90s, moved back to Chicago to kind of be with family, okay? Well, that was the second mistake I made in my life. And you want to know the first mistake, right? Well, that was marrying my ex-wife. So I moved back to Chicago area, did a lot of fishing early and did a lot of fishing when I was back there. Muskie, walleye, crappie, bass, and there's a lot of trolling involved. Trolling for muskie, walleye, and for crappie. Ask me afterwards, I don't have time. This is like a 4 or 5 hour seminar that I'm trying to condense down. So when I moved down here, it said stripers. I said, okay, I can troll. I know, stripers are pelagic. They move around a lot, so they're not on a spot like bass are. I thought a lot of my musky stuff would cross over. Hey, stripers, big fish, they eat big baits. I kept hearing about guys down here, oh, they're using 8, 9, 10-inch gizzard shads. So hey, I got big musky baits. And that didn't work. Never caught anything on a musky bait. Not a thing. I troll because it catches fish. And I like it, I kind of consider it as hunting. It's an active thing. I'm out there cruising around, trolling, I'm doing something. It's not like sitting there drowning minnows, waiting for a fish to bite. And I'm really fooling them using artificials. I don't know. Maybe it's a personal preference. I don't know. You gotta try it, think about it, see how you like it. Okay, what do I use? Here's a basic trolling outfit. The rod. Your handy dandy ugly stick, 7 foot, medium heavy striper rod. Works fine, lasts a long time. Can't say anything else about that. I use the Abu Garcia line counters. These are the 6500 models. Why? I'm the reel guy. I've seen the insides of hundreds, if not thousands of reels. It's got a nice, straightforward, basic system that hardly changed in the last 60, 70 years or so. I like that. The line counter has an inline gear system that's smooth, straightforward, no problems. Setting the drag. This has got a nice big handle, okay? So I line up, I set my drag for how much drag I want when I'm fighting a fish. And I just make sure I set up 1 point of the star drag on that big handle part. Then when I go to put my lines out to troll, I back it off 2 star points. I want a little medium drag, hard enough to set that hook, but enough slip so that it doesn't break my rod. Works fine, lasts a long time. I pick it up to fight the fish, all I gotta do, I don't even have to look at it. I can just move that 2 star points back to my fighting drag, and I'm ready to go. Okay, I do have lighter outfits that I have the 5500 on. It doesn't have a big handle, it's got a little handle, but it's got that keeper on the nut. Well, I just line up the star point on that keeper thing, and I know where it is, and I know how to set it on and off. The line that I use. It starts out white. In spider wire and Visibraid, it's white, it's supposed to be translucent. Why do I use white? I forgot to bring the sample line in, but here's what you do. You take a piece of green line, like a lot of super line is, the super braid, and a piece of white line. And you go outside, or even do it in here, and hold it up like this. And you tell me which one is more visible. The green, obviously. The white cuts it down, kind of minimizes it. After a year or two, it will pick up a stain. I'm lucky, I got my own line winder, so I wind it off onto an empty spool, reverse the spool, put it back the opposite way, and I got fresh new, brand new line on there. It stays white. My leaders and swivels and snaps. Oh, this is 30-pound braid for my regular trolling outfits. On the regular outfits, 15-pound fluorocarbon leader. You can go heavier, you can go to 17 if you want, 20. When you think about it, how much difference does it make when it's fluorocarbon? It's supposed to be invisible, right? So it doesn't make any difference. I don't know, I use 15. But I attach that to the main line with, you can't even see it, you can come up afterwards and see it. That's a little swivel there. Spro makes these really neat, teeny tiny swivels. That little swivel is a 60-pound swivel. They make them down to 20-pound, like for crappie, but I can't even see the holes to tie the line, so I don't use those. The leader, I start out about 7 or 8 feet. Every once in a while, you gotta cut the snap off and redo it, and you get a little shorter. When it gets down to 4 or 5 feet, I just change it out. Change the leader every spring. Depending on how many fish and everything during the year, I might do it in the middle of the year. Change that leader out, put a new leader out, doesn't cost anything. Number 2, I forgot what kind of snap they call that, but it's that kind of snap. They call them crankbait snaps, because it lets the crankbait wiggle because of that big loop. And that is the basic setup right there. I have one outfit I call the lightweight outfit. It's the same rod, but it's got 20-pound braid and a 10 or 12-pound leader, and I'm trolling a smaller lure with it. I don't know. I don't know why I did that. Maybe it's just because it's different, or I had a couple of those 55s left over or something. I don't know. That's why I do it. On my boat in the back, there's 3 rod holders on each side. I'll have 6 trolling outfits stuck in those rod holders. 2 to lightweight, 2 medium depth, and 2 deep diving lures. Why? I don't want to be changing lures while things are happening. And you don't catch fish with your stuff out of the boat and the boat sitting still. So I could, if I crank one in, I could put another one out, and while I'm trolling, sit there and take my time, and okay, let me put this one in there, you know, and change out. Always got something in the water fishing. Lures, this is the big one. This is the big one. Okay, take your note, put your tape recorders on and everything else. I used to work in 2 tackle shops when I was up north before I retired. I got a lure connection that you would not believe. I could stock Dwayne's store just with the stuff in my garage, my back porch, in the basement, and every place else. Okay? I'm a reel guy. I go to, you know, I say, oh, I got to clean my own reels. Somebody said I got 6 of those and 4 of those, a couple of those, you know. I got to 100 and I quit. I said, forget it, I'm not going to do it. So I got stuff. Lures. I tried all kinds of stuff when I started. And pretty quick, I discovered this fat-free shad did the trick. And I worked at a tackle store. If I bought a lure, I would buy 6 or 8 different colors. I would try them all. Didn't take long, it narrowed down to, well, I can't give you the exact name of this because that would be an uncompensated endorsement. But you know, that's a heck of a sexy looking bait, you know, and it's kind of shad shaped, so figure it out. Or the white with the chartreuse. Chartreuse back or chartreuse belly didn't seem to make any difference. When I discovered chartreuse, I said, oh, they like chartreuse lures. So I grabbed one of them lures that's, you know, all chartreuse, lights up like a Christmas tree. Nothing ever touched it. It's got to have that little itty bitty bit of chartreuse in it. And here's the first tip of the night. This is a good color. If you look close on this, I take a marking pen, like this, available at captain's quarters. And I put a little bit of chartreuse on the side. Seems to work. Makes it look like that other unnamed color. Okay? Tip, big tip of the night. This one, I can't tell you the color. This one has been a consistent producer. Whatever.
That's the sexy one.
Yeah, that sexy looking colored one.
What was it called again?
Fat free shad.
It's a shad that's sexy.
All right. It's a sexy shad. But Bomber doesn't call it sexy shad, they call it foxy shad. And this other place calls it, something else shad, but they're all sexy shad colors. Just like the original Strike King. You're gonna hear about that. All the lures are floating. Why? Because if I hook a fish and I put it in neutral and I want to get that fish in there, I want that lure to float up. I don't want it to sink into the trees. Lots of trees around this lake. You all know that. Depth. Most every lure that you buy, on here, it says dives 19 feet. Some of them will tell you that it goes, where's the, uh-oh, I lost the lure. Sometimes it says 8 to 10. What I do is, oh, here it is. This one says 10 to 12, okay? I take the midpoint of that number, it's going to be 11. Add half again, 11, that's 5.5 to 11, 16.5 feet. Then I prove it. I will troll over a very shallow point that's obstruction free, and there's plenty of those around, and I'll watch when it bangs, I'll keep moving up, I might have to make 3 or 4 passes, all of a sudden it's hitting bottom. Okay, this one, what did I just calculate? 16.5 feet, this one runs 18. Okay? You can't always believe the package. He's got some banded lures now at captain's quarters. Trolls down to 27 feet. I said, really? I said, that's going to hit the trees. But I got to try it. So I did. Had it trolling out there, and I can tell by the angle of the line, this is a shallow lure, this is a deep lure. I said, that don't look 27 feet. Start going over the point, 19. Perfect. The trees are at 20, I'm trolling 19. By the way, the fat-free shad's 18 feet. It says 14 to 18. So if you calculated it, it would be like 22. Not really. But that's why you got to try them out. You have to try them out.
How much line are you putting out to get
100
that?
feet of line. I didn't get there yet.
Oh.
Don't get ahead of me.
You're gonna confuse him.
People
You gotta
like-
stick to the script.
Oh my God. Size of the hook, of the lure makes a difference. That's a pretty decent sized lure. But I was trolling those out one time, went over outside of Indian Creek, went over a bunch of fish I should have caught. They were right up there, 20, 24 feet. I should have caught them. Damn, I couldn't catch them. I said, what the heck? So believe it or not, it was probably one of these. But whatever it was a 2-inch body bait. Like that. Don't ask me why I put it out there. Put it out there, went past, the mouth of the creek, bang! I said, what the heck? Did it again, bang! I said, you gotta be kidding me. And for a couple of years, that same color, or chartreuse white, I think the biggest one I got with that is 32 inches. Honest to goodness. One thing to remember though, these are bass baits. Those are regular, ordinary hooks. I use baits like this little bomber. I will usually, almost always, change them out to 2X hooks. I straighten a lot of hooks on those little baits. But, I change the hooks. What size? Besides that, I was in Indian Creek one December, fish were breaking all over the place. I had a rod, I also carried 4 casting outfits on my boat. I had a rod rigged up with 5-inch Storm wildlife swim shad. Cast, nothing. Dang, what the heck do they want? Had a rod rigged up with the 4-inch swim shad. Cast, nothing. Nothing bit it. I says, okay, this is gonna be crazy. I had a spinning rod rigged up with a 3-inch Storm swim bait. Bang! Dang, how about that? Caught a fish. Dang, caught another one. I think I caught 3 or 4 fish using that little one. Example number 2. That 3. That was the second example. Number 3. Good. That little 2-inch bait worked for 2-3 years, and then I noticed the bite went off. I said, maybe they want like a minnow bait. Bomber, long A deep, 3.5 inches. Boom, start catching fish. On that one. Then I said, well, let's see if I can get bigger or better fish. So I'll use that bomber, which is obviously a good bait, that also comes in the bigger size. Yeah, that's it. Comes in a 5.5-inch version. So I'll run the 2 little ones off the side, the bigger one down the center. This one runs 16 feet, by the way. The little ones there are 14 feet. Nothing ever touches it. Switch this out, put the white and chartreuse. Nothing touches it. Boom, boom. I catch fish on the little ones all the time. Nothing catches this. Didn't hit the big one. I don't know. But the bigger one, they work from time to time in those colors. And by the way, the blue back seems to outdo the black back. Add a little chartreuse. This one needs to be touched up. I got chartreuse on there. And it'll work.
Those fish in Indian Creek are finicky.
They seem to be. Many times. Oh, here's the white and chartreuse I use when I'm trolling out them little ones, white and chartreuse. Most of these lures, like these new ones that Dwayne's got, the walleye deep, they come with 3 trebles. Number 4. They're bass size, walleye size. What I frequently and most often do is switch those out to 2 trebles, 1 size bigger. So these are 2 number 2s on that bait. It's just so much neater, when you go to net it and you don't have all them hooks. The bomber I mentioned, 5-inch, 2 hooks. Another good bait, the J13, 2 hooks. This one doesn't rattle, but I think when it's in the water, it's knocking. And I have noticed these baits were a heavy knocker. They weren't a rattle. It was a heavy knocker. Maybe that's why they caught the fish. I don't know. Hooks, 2 versus 3, size, stories, depth, I got that. Tuning, everybody know how to tune a crankbait? No, I guess not. You do. Well, you don't count. Okay. Brand new one out of the package. Not all of them run true and straight. So what you do is you let out 6 feet of line or something like that, and before you let it out back, you just put it in the water right next to the boat and watch what it does. If it's running true, it'll just be right down the middle. And if you speed it up a little bit, it's just going to speed up. Very often, they'll start kicking off to one side or the other. And then what you have to do is the little loop that's on the bill, you have to bend that with some pliers. And you barely touch it. When I tune a bait, I can't even see that little piece of wire move. You just gotta do by feel, just that little bit of pressure, try it out, see what it does. Most of the time, well, it ends up going the opposite way, because I did it too much. Then bring it back the other way. But you look at the lure, and you wanna move that little eye in the direction you want it to move. So if it's kicking off to this way, you wanna bend that little wire that way. You wanna move it back to the center. That's tuning a bait, very important. Make sure you check it before you put them in there. Okay. That's crankbaits. Do I ever troll umbrella rigs or Alabama rigs? Sure. Here's one that I troll. You never saw one like that, huh?
Before you get off of that, is there particular depths you like on the crankbaits? Everything down to
Yeah, where I
20
see the fish. If I'm in the creeks, I'll try go a little shallower, because there's a lot of shallow areas. Now, generally speaking, I wanna get them down there at 19 feet. I wanna get them down, because I think they're gonna be deeper now.
What speed are you running on your boat?
That's coming up in the next paragraph. As soon as I finish the Alabama race. All I did was put one back to back. And stuck this one off the back end. Why? You watch the nature programs, the fishing programs, they show the predators underwater chasing that school of bait, and they're always picking off the straggler. That's the straggler. And if you listen to some of the bass professional guys you see on TV, they're gonna tell you 80–90% of the bass fish they catch are on that tail one. So I just gave him a helping hand and put it back there. This one, mostly white. But that's like what's that white color in the flukes?
Pearl.
Pearl? Not pearl, the other one.
White ice.
White ice, yeah. They like that color. That's one of them that I do. Ha! Ah, you ain't gonna believe this one. I just caught my bag. Yeah, you don't wanna use cloth bags.
This is what you do.
Got a few baits on there, doesn't it? I found that, and this is a 4-arm rig, found that at Sportsman's Warehouse. The umbrella rig was about $25–30, and then you're hanging $20 worth of jigs and plastic on there. You don't wanna hang that in a tree. But
Which
same
brings me to my
deal.
next point of the,
Pardon?
which brings me to your next point of the lure retrieval. You have one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I got one, by the way, from Dwayne's. The big weight with the
Yes.
chains on it and everything else. Oh, yes. It has paid for itself several times over. Okay, and that's a 4-arm one, and I think I have even a more exciting one. Oh, yes, I do. Look, this is a 6-arm one. Same thing, just runs back a little bit. That's just a wire leader from something or other, I forgot what. There it is, and I also, in addition to all these other outfits, I carry 2 more trolling outfits that are spooled with 40-pound line for trolling these. When do I switch over? If I'm going over fish with the crankbaits, and I'm not getting bit, and I think I ought to be getting bit, I'll switch over. And it works enough of the times that that's what I do. Now, how deep are they running? Well, I don't know, Joel, tell me. I had to figure that out. So how did I do that? Good old trigonometry. Let's see, you got the angle of the line off the water, and the sine of that angle is this much, and times the length of line that you have out, and that's what you got. That's the depth of your Alabama rig, or whatever you got. Thank you. So I made up a chart. Look at that, did trigonometry. The amount of line out, gives you the angle of the line, and then how deep it should be running. I got those available if you really want them. And I usually run out, 80–90 feet with that, but I don't use 4-ounce Alabama rigs. Those are 1/8 ounce jigs, the whole rig is maybe 2 ounces, so I don't want it to crash down deep. Now, tip on using the Alabama rigs, only works when you're in like the main river channel. You don't wanna do it when there's trees around, but it's worked several times that I've tried it. You're trolling along, maybe your baits are running 20 feet, you look on the sonar, oh my God, this fish is 40, 50 feet. Stop. Put it in neutral, little bit of reverse, I want the boat to stop. And then I watch that line. And they start sinking. And what's the sign of 45 degrees? Right, 0.707.
I knew that.
0.7 times 100 feet of line, those baits are down 70 feet. I said, okay, put it in gear and take off. And now, that's right down there where them fish are, and all of a sudden, them baits are going, trying to get away from those stripers. They can't resist it. So that's tip number 1. Okay, how do I do it? 100 feet of line, who asked me?
No speed.
Oh, that's next. 100 feet of line, it was kind of arbitrary. That's what I did up north. I started down here, I was catching fish. Why change? You can go a little more. I wouldn't go any less. And you say, well, I'll get deeper if I let out 200 feet of line. Not necessarily, for 2 reasons. One, you got line resistance in the water. Your line is not straight down to that lure, okay? There's a bow in it because of line resistance. The more line you get out, the bigger that bow is gonna be. And that just keeps pulling that lure back up. The other thing there is, maybe only with the bigger baits, is that it has natural buoyancy. You're not gonna get it any deeper than a certain depth. So that's 2 reasons. So 100 feet, it works. Why change it? I usually am trolling 2 lines, 1 off each side of the boat. Those are, by the way, when I measure how deep the lures are, my rods are out horizontal in the boat. I got a couple in the center that kind of are up in the air, but that tends to bring that bait higher than it normally runs. But I usually run 2. Believe it or not, when I first started, I was in my little 14-foot John boat. I'd put out 4 lines on this John boat until about the 2nd fish I caught. Because stripers are not like walleye and crappie or something. They don't just come, oh, you got me, I'll just come in with you. No. They tend to go sideways and catch whatever else you have out there. So the first thing I would do is I'd let the drag loose, just let the motor idle so I'm still pulling, and try and crank those other ones in. So I'm trying to crank all these 3 in more than once. The hooked fish got in the trees and got away. So I said, okay, I'll do 2, and that seems to work. If I'm not sure what they're hitting, maybe they want bigger ones, I'll put a 3rd one down the center. The bigger one down the center and the 2 off the side. That's the most. That's all I can handle. If you got another guy in the boat where you can fight the fish and he can take care of the, great, that works great. Okay. 3.7 miles an hour. My tracker has a Merc 115. They got a thing called troll control. Basically what it is you can adjust the idle speed. Well, if I hit it about 10 or 12 times, it brings it up to about 1,000 RPM. It doesn't keep going. That's its limit. And on a nice, fairly calm day, 3.7. Into the wind, you might slow down a little bit. With the wind, you might speed up a little bit. How did I find out about 3.7? I started out for the first year or so, everybody's saying, yeah, I pull those baits at, 2.5 miles an hour. So I'm just tooling along at idle. I'm running 2.5 in my little boat, same thing in the big boat. I went over fish right in front of your house, Mike. Ponds of fish. And they were like right there at 20 feet. It's like, man, they should be fighting. So I said, okay, I gotta try this again. So I'm gonna make a loop, the old racetrack loop to come back. So I sped up. 2 seconds after I sped up, hey, You know, what was different? Oh, I went faster, okay. Caught the fish, came back around, cruised through there about 3.7, 3.8, got him. Okay, doesn't take long for me to learn. So 3.7. And 3.7, you're covering ground. I mean, yeah, you're running around when you're bait fishing, and you don't necessarily put it in the water, start trolling, and just keep going. You're gonna go to general areas where you think they're fish. I've been out the last couple of weeks, and I'll start here at Betty and Becky's Creek. Oh, nothing. Go up to Walden's Creek. Oh, nothing. Go up to the Franklin County. Oh, nothing. Check the S curve. Oh, nope. Run down to Sailor's Cove or down to Craddock Creek or wherever. You know, you just do hop around, but while you're trolling, you're still covering ground. My biggest fear is, I'm trolling along, I don't see fish, so I'm gonna stop and reel them in and go. And as soon as I start moving, oh, there's a school of fish. It just went another 100 yards, I would have got the fish. But, I mean, that's why they call it fishing, not catching. Okay, covered ground, flotation. Where? That's the big secret, right? I brought my map just so I can show you where I go trolling to catch the stripers, okay? Now, you all see that blue area on the map? That's where I go. And there's some more blue on this side too. That's where I go. Basically anywhere. You listen, you come to the club, you listen to where you're catching fish. Big clue, stop at Dwayne's. You know, everybody stops in there. Hey, I caught fish today, Dwayne. Yeah, where were you? Well, it's over here, over there. He knows. He turned me on going to Craddock Creek a couple of weeks ago. And,
There were just a few fish in there, right?
pardon?
There were just a few fish in there.
Just a few. So, but where? Okay, you're gonna work the points. I always work the points. Or the channel, or the tree line, or the space between the shoreline and the tree line. If you don't know, you'll see me out there kind of zigzagging. Okay, let's see, you go up to about 20 feet of water, don't see nothing, let's go over the tree line, over to the channel, you know. Oh, here, they're in the middle. If you go on the lake, if you've been on the lake anytime at all, you'll notice, and the best example is the stretch up and down from R32. The river channel is basically straight. There is a tree line on each side of it. And then it's clear from the tree line to the shoreline. And I compare it to driving down a country road where you got farm fields, but they got a windrow of trees right along the highway. That's exactly what it looks like under the water. And they'll be at a certain location, you know, sometimes on that tree line if they're chasing the bait, in the channel, running a little deeper, along in between the shore and the tree line and 30 feet of water. That's why if I got a good idea, I'll just stay in, okay, 30 feet, you know, and control that area. But otherwise, I'm looking around, and you're going 3.7, so I mean, you can cover it. And you know, where on the lake, up lake, mid lake, by the deck. Listen to all your friends where they're catching the fish and head that way. Okay? When? The simplest point on my net, simplest point that says anytime. Spring, summer, fall, winter, anytime. You'll see me out there trolling, 3.7 miles an hour. Where? Changes a little bit, you know, in the fall, I'm running up lake towards Hardy, you know, then you move back down, the spring you try and run down. That's all I can tell you about that. They're pelagic, they run around, and you just gotta keep your ear to the ground.
What
Do I
about
ever
time
do?
of day?
What?
What time of day?
Yes,
Time of day.
yes,
That's not on your list yet.
doesn't matter. I'm an old-time fisherman, I'm out there at the crack of dawn. And I'll fish till noon,
Okay.
1 o'clock, you know, whatever. That's it. I have never trolled at night Yes, I did. One time it was real early in the morning, it was dark. I had this lure that had a little light in it that flashed red. It was a salmon bait. Salmon crushed that lure. So I said, I'm gonna try it on the stripers. They didn't like it. So don't use that. But I haven't trolled at night. But just, crack it on till, whenever I quit. Okay. Do I cast? I told you I keep 4 casting rods rigged up, ready to go. Swim bait, deep diving crankbait, swamp monkey, and a big white hair jig. Okay, here's a story about casting. Of course, you're going to cast a breaking fish. So Dwayne told me they're down Lake Craddock Creek. I said, okay. I went down there. Started trolling, got along the first point where the small lighthouse is. Oh, they're breaking on the other side of the point. Crank them lures in, run over there, they're gone. They were up for about 30 seconds, honest to God. Okay, so I'm trolling those big points as you're going in Craddock Creek. And I said, I got to the last one, I'm gonna swing around and go into deep water. This is gospel. Not even from here to that door, that first door. Big busted right on top. I said, holy cow! Throw it in neutral, grab the first rod I could put my hand on, which was this exact rod. This is the absolute lightest outfit that I have to cast with. I threw it out there, it hit the water, and I felt something, and I set the hook and I said, I snagged a tree. I says, dang, it was like a dead weight. I snagged the tree. And then the tree started going, zip, zip, zip. Ooh, this is a big fish. So the wind was blowing pretty good, so I kept the pipe line, cranked the other 2 lines in, fought the fish for 10 minutes or so. I said, hurry up, my arm's getting tired. And finally got into the boat, and my eyes got this big, and I said, holy cow, that's a big fish. Had to use 2 hands to grab the net, get it in the boat, measured out 35 inches.
Wow.
And I said, that's only 12-pound line. I said, this is the light. My other ones I got 15. This one had 12-pound line in it. On the 4-inch bottom. I know a guy, all he fishes with are the 5-inch. Catches fish all the time. I can't catch one to save my soul with a 5-inch. I throw the 4-inch, I catch them all the time. So, go figure. When else do I cast? If you got the breaking fish, and they're breaking, maybe you caught one, and now they stop breaking. Don't give up. I have a rod rigged with this XD. This does get down deep on the cast. I'll grab that thing and not throw where they broke, but maybe kind of to the left or to the right, because it's going to get down 18, 19 feet. And you go pack up a straggler. Just because they stopped fishing, hitting on top, doesn't mean they just ran away. They just quit hitting on top, but they could be down there still kind of looking around. Throw that down deep. Could you throw this one? Yeah, and let it sink? Yes. I don't want to wait 20 seconds while this sinks. I want to cast this out there on a long bottom and just start cranking right away. Plus, this will stay deep if you're cranking fast. This one will come straight up to the boat. I just believe it's better than, coming straight up. You try and you figure them out. That's when I cast. High birds. Maybe there's nothing hitting the water, but you see birds fluttering. What does that mean? The bait's a little bit below the surface. Could be fish below them. It's happened more than once. I see them ease up there and just throwing that deep diving crankbait. Now I can't guarantee it every time. It works often, and here's what I say. It works often enough that I try it when I see them. Maybe it'll get me a fish. Okay? Deep at the surface, high birds. Do I cast? Yes. Oh, I'm trolling along, and I use side imaging on my boat. I go across the point, maybe I see them fish marks up on the point where I know my lures are not gonna get to. Stop, put it in neutral, grab that casting rod, boom, and hit that point. See if you can get them. Again, I don't guarantee it, but it works enough that I try it every time I see that. So, I covered the lures. She's got some new lures. Walleye deep and walleye shallow. I haven't caught anything on the deep yet. I haven't used it much. I have caught them on the walleye shallow. The chrome black back is a good color, especially if you touch it up with a little bit of chartreuse stripe on the side. Remember that. Oh, by the way, Dwayne donated. I donated 2. Dwayne donated 5. But that's the one I'm using there. Not heavy enough to do much casting with unless you're going to use a spinning outfit. But there it is. Okay. Oh, the other lures he's got that are hot. He's used them at night a lot. The Berkeley hit stick. He's caught them at night on about 5 different colors. But if you ask the guys, this purple glimmer. Oh, look, it has a chartreuse stripe on the side. Wow, that's a hot color. He doesn't have any. He gets 6 or 8 of them in, they're gone in a day. But if you see them someplace else, maybe you can find them. So, but,
No, you ever use a lead core?
do what?
Lead core.
No, I want it to float. I don't want anything that sinks. So, no lead core.
At 3.7 miles per hour thereabouts, is there too much resistance from the lures to use planer boards to spread your bait?
I'm still experimenting.
You have to get the strong offshore clips.
Yeah, offshore makes some special clips that you can actually adjust and tighten down. I've tried it with the braid line, and it's really tough to play with that.
Yeah, braid line is too slippery for them.
Yeah,
I pull with heavy duty clips all the time and don't have any trouble with it, as long as you put the heavy duty clips on.
there you go. Yeah, make sure you got your heavy duty clips. Oh, and by the way, I went to the braid. When I trolled for muskies, I used 20-pound big game, Berkeley big game. Trolling a muskie lure, no problem. I can see that thing wiggling like crazy. I put out some of these lures with that 20-pound big game, and the rod just like nothing. I couldn't tell if I had grass, a twig, a leaf, or anything on there. Using the braid, and even these little lures, I'll see that tip going. And if it ever stops going like that, crank it in, clean it off, put it back. And it doesn't take much on a smaller lure. So that's primarily why I use the braid, so I can see that all the time. And of course, the bigger lure's got a little bigger wiggle.
Did you ever experiment with downriggers?
Not me. I know a guy who did, and I think after he lost the second ball in a tree, he quit using them. That was, you don't know, who had a big cabin cruiser boat?
Ken Ulrich?
Ken, yeah.
Who sold that?
He was a Great Lakes fishing guy. So he had a big, like, cabin, it was like 24, 26 feet, you know, he had downriggers and everything, and, yeah. So, as long as I know I can get lures down to 19 feet, that's all I want. That's all I want. And then, you know, let the Alabama rigs fall down if I see them down deep. Oh, do I vertically jig? Sure. Just like I said, if I see them 40, 50 feet, and I know they're not coming up to bite, stop, I have 2 outfits rigged up for deep jigging. They have the line counter reels. I've got a swim bait on one and a swamp monkey on the other one. And if I see them down deep and you know, they're not gonna hit trolling, sure, stop, put it in reverse, actually stop the boat, drop them things down there. If I see them at 60 feet, I wanna drop that thing down at 70, that's why I use line counter. I don't wanna go to the bottom.
Now, when you jig, do you hold it still or do you work it up and down?
A little bit of both. Depends on how the wind's blowing. I mean, if the wind's blowing and I'm going like this, just put them in the rod holder. Same reels, the 5500 line counters, put the click on there and that's it. If it's pretty calm, I'll have one in the rod holder and yeah, I'll kind of work the other one. But I'll make sure I do this on the boat. You know, so the one that's in the holder is doing something. Yeah, I came out of Sailor's Cove one time, came around that big shoal of the island, and right there in that corner, it was like, holy mackerel! You know, so I got my jigging outfit with one of them swim baits on there, let it down just below them, they were down to 60 feet, down to 70 feet. Boom! And that was the best day I had. I think I caught like 6 fish in 24 minutes. I mean, it was less than a half hour. Every time I put it down there, just start cranking it up, boom. That was pretty neat.
If you want to go below the lure depth, do you recommend putting slip sinker on to help get deeper?
Nope. Unless the lure's gonna float with the slip sinker, but no, I don't want anything that's gonna sink.
Okay.
You know, I'll leave it up there. You know, you gotta be careful when you have those Alabama rigs, cause they don't float, so you gotta be really careful, you know, if you hook a fish, you gotta crank that other one in real quick. Oh, do I ever catch them 2 at a time? You betcha, and that's always a circus. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I think, in Becky's Creek, and I'm coming around, I had this shallow running lure with another shallow running lure now. I came around the point, oh, there's some fish right there in the perfect spot. Boom! This rod goes off. Oh, cool, boom! The other one goes off. And then you're doing the 2 crank dance to get them both in. Yeah, I got them both in, 18 and 19 inches. It's like, you know. So that was the whole day. 5 minutes of excitement. Woo! That was a Thursday, yeah. Any more questions? And I'll stick around if you want to take a look at this stuff and ask questions. If you want a chart, I did make up extra copies of my trigonometry chart. And I got those available. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. I got all the lures counted, so.